Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, I just watched the season finale of season 2 of Yellowjackets, episode 9, storytelling. I'm finding the series overall disappointing. I thought it was going to be an interesting take on women, how they work as groups, people trying to survive, surviving in a hostile environment. Instead, they went all supernatural and tribal and paranoid and culty, and it didn't work. The first season had the 90s nostalgia was great, and there was a real build up to the crash and everything, and I was loving the adult characters, the versions of them and everything, but this season hasn't quite worked. Now this episode is fairly simple. Basically they bring Harvey home, they eat him. The brother eventually is sort of brought into that. For some reason they hand him his cold heart and he takes a bite out of it before he puts it in the saucepan. And they do not divvy him up and ration him, they just have like a feast. So I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. The teacher doesn't know how to deal with them, and he starts making a plan. Eventually, I'll have to leave the very end of the 90s story to that. That's most of the 90s story. Basically, Lottie is not happy with what happened, and she decides that Nat should actually lead them because she felt that it spared her. So she sort of takes over as leader of the group, and that's most of the story for the 90s timeline. And just one little bit at the end, which is the very end. Now, as far as the current story, basically Shauna's husband and daughter show up, and of course detectives follow them, because I remember looking at them, I'm like, they're driving there? The detectives are going to follow them. And of course they're 2 minutes later. Now, one of the detectives just walks in and starts talking to Walter, who offers him a drink, and very quickly serves up some hemabatitol or whatever it's called, the poison, kills him, and then works on setting up the other cop in some way to blackmail him and let Nat out of it. So they're working on that. The husband is freaking out. The girls are humouring Lottie at first, and they plan to call mental health specialists to come and get her, but the redhead girl, I've forgotten her name, decides that they should deal with it, that they are part of what made her crazy and they're part of it. So they make this decision between a couple of them to abandon that plan and don't tell the others. So they go through with the drawing of lots without realising, some of them, what's actually happening. Shauna eventually draws the lot, and they're going to kill her, and she's like, what are you talking about? This is not what we're going to do. And she's like, F this, I'm out. But they're like, okay, you've chosen to run, and they chase her. The daughter shows up because she got the gun off the dad earlier. She shoots Lottie, and then the other girl from the cult that Nat had the issues with, she earlier told her to leave and not be there that night. She intervenes, and while they're sort of in a stand down, whatever it is, Misty tries to inject her with something, but Nat gets in the way, and Nat takes it, and Nat dies. Now, I knew this from the start because someone made a comment about, I can't believe what happened to Nat or something. I'm like, oh, great. So I kind of knew that she was going to end up dying somehow. I thought maybe she'd sacrifice herself because she kind of got out of it last time. And she kind of does, I think, but not really. I think she was really conscious of what happened. It just sort of happened. But the police show up, the medics show up, they take Lottie away. Shauna's fine because the cop has sort of accepted whatever bribe or whatever Walter set up. Misty is devastated because she killed a friend, and she tells Walter. He hugs her, and that's sort of the end of their story. I'm not sure where this is going to go next season. The very end of the episode is just a really unnecessary cliffhanger, which I can just imagine the person writing the end of the series, the end of the season, knowing they're not coming on next season because they're just handing someone else a huge problem. Basically, the teacher while the girls are asleep, sets the cabin on fire. And although they manage to get out, they don't even try to stop it, and it just burns down, and all they have is themselves and the blankets in the wilderness, and that's the end of the episode, which is a great cliffhanger. But I just feel like this show jumped the shark with the cult and tribal behavior and the supernatural elements. That are they mentally ill, or is it a supernatural element, or they jumped a couple of sharks in this season. And the first show had a real build up and the nostalgia, and I felt like we were learning who these characters were, and then they just all sort of disappeared and turned into this weird cult, and it didn't really work for me. I know I'm not the only person who was disappointed in this season, so yeah, but I'm just curious what other people think, and I don't know what they're going to do for the next season. I don't really care. I mean, I'd probably watch it. I watched the first season DVD straight through, then I only had to wait about a week for the season, so I was really excited, but I was disappointed.